So the DJI Action 4 has really proven itself to be a great camera, especially over the Action 3. And with the Hero 12 coming out recently and falling short of a lot of categories, the Action 4 is definitely the way to go. But recently DJI just released a firmware update that gives it 4 new features that make it stand out way above the competition. But before we get into it, we definitely need to stop by my favorite coffee shop.
Oh, great.
Wow, very good. Now we got coffee, we got cameras, we got a pretty day. It's time to go film some stuff. So here we are at the park. It'd be a good time to go feed some ducks. Rice. I'm just kidding. I really wish we could get some decent graffiti. You know I love graffiti, but I just wish we could get some decent graffiti artists.
Yeah, I thought about that too. This would be a good tunnel if somebody would make it pretty, like, I don't know.
Like a mural or something.
Yeah, it would be cool, but then I think some idiot would then spray paint over it.
I'll be there in a minute. Hi. So this is under the bridge. So one of the new features with the recent firmware update, and these are in no particular order of significance or importance, they're all really good updates, but one of them is the ability to pre-record anywhere from 5 seconds all the way up to 60 seconds before you even hit the record button. I've been trying to run through my mind how many times have I missed something because I didn't get to the record button in time, and if I did, like, would it have been a steady shot, or would it have been blurry, or my finger in the way, or, you know, I don't know how useful that would be, but it is still cool to know that just in case that function is always there. Now you can get to it under the same tab where loop recording is, and if you don't know what loop recording is, it's pretty much a setting that will start to override at the beginning of the SD card if you fill your card up. I've always used a 512 gigabyte card, and I've never really come close to filling it up, but recording with 4K footage, it does build up pretty quick, but I think that you would probably run out of battery before you ran out of card. So under the tab where you would find loop recording, you'll see it's either off, pre-record, or loop recording. If you tap on pre-recording, then you can slide at the bottom whether you want it at 5, 10, 15, 30, or 60-second intervals. When you power on the Action 4 and pre-recording is turned on, you'll see a yellow tab there in the middle of the screen that says pre-recording, and it's counting down, and you can tap that to make it go away, or you can just hit record and it will record the previous time of whatever you have selected.
You want to try the first one?
You want to lure them in with some of the bread, or?
Oh yeah, sure.
It don't matter. Hey, what y'all doing? You want some bird seed? Before y'all attack me in the comment section, we brought a bag of bird seed, but they prefer the bread over the bird seed. So we're trying to do both. Boy, that wind came out of nowhere. So that's a good time for me to tell you about the next feature, which is the high wind noise reduction setting that's been added. So you can only do this with 1080p. You can't do it in 4K, which is what we're doing now. So we'll turn on the we'll turn the wind noise reduction to high now. All right, so wind noise has been turned on to high. I don't know if it's significant improvement yet or not, but it is definitely windy out here right now. So if there is any improvement at all, we will be able to see. I guess it takes a lot of processing power to be able to do that, because you can't do it in 4K. You have to be in 1080p. Now, there is no stipulation on frame rate, so I guess you could be 1080p 60, 1080p 30, or 24, and it still works. All right, so this is probably the best wind noise test I could think of, so I'm just gonna hang it out the window and we'll go from there. But, yep. Now to access the wind noise reduction, you just tap the 3 bars on the right side of the screen and you'll see the tabs for what looks like the aperture logo for all your shutter speed and camera settings. And then if you tap the microphone, you'll reach audio settings and you'll see where it says wind noise reduction, none, standard, and high. And she left me, dude. She took the bird seat and left me. She took everything I had. All right, so now we're back in 4K, which means wind noise reduction is back down to standard. I'm also using the DJI mic, so if it's clipping, I'll switch over to that. And we found her. Look at those ducks lined up.
Here you go, guys.
She took off on my bird seat again. I got to do some homecoming photos later on today, and I have to do it at a place that I wouldn't really call it a good place to take homecoming photos, but it's kind of out of my control, so I'm just kind of rolling with it. You know, I guess the only thing that's going to be in the frame is the subject, so what's around it really doesn't matter. But I couldn't really find anything great I went out there the other day at the same time that I'm going to be shooting at today, just to see what the lighting conditions would be like, and you know what I can do with it. And I don't even know if they're going to allow us to do it, but this right here would make a really pretty spot. So the quick switch button on the Action 4 is probably one of my favorite features about it. It's so nice. But it's gotten even better with this firmware update, because now it has become what they're calling highlights, which is pretty much just a marker. So now by pressing the quick switch button while recording, you can mark a particular spot in the recording. Oh. What are you doing? So now you can mark a particular spot in your recording so that you can go back to later on in post-production and find that particular moment that you were looking for, because file sizes get big, especially when recording in 4K, and having to try to scrub back and find that particular moment that you're looking for, or that start or stop point. Markers is a huge thing. Not only can you mark it while recording, but you can also mark it while reviewing the footage in playback. So when you're recording, all you have to do is just simply tap the quick switch feature while recording. Just hit the quick switch on the side and it will put a marker. And you can do this infinite amount of times. So during playback, when you're reviewing the footage, you'll see in the center of the screen, you got the pause, play, and then you can fast forward on the right, but on the left is the diamond. This diamond is for highlights or markers, so that you can, while reviewing your footage, hit that diamond and it will leave a highlight on your timeline for that particular moment. And you can do this infinite amount of times. One downside is that it's only useful if you're editing with the DJI Mimo app. So once you import your footage into the Mimo app, or connect your phone to your camera, then you can see all the highlights or markers on the timeline. Then you can trim, cut, splice, loop, everything you need to do to complete the project that you're working on. But if you import it into DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere, then these markers or highlights you won't be able to see them. Now, highlights is incredibly useful. I mean, that's a powerful tool to have, and I'm glad that they added it. But one of the most useful features that they've added in this firmware update is the audio meter. See, before, when you plugged in an external microphone into the USB-C port, then there would just be a microphone icon on the back, and it would show you whether pretty much whether you were clipping or not. You know, it never really showed the levels, and it was extremely difficult to judge where your audio levels were. And so I always had to either record a safety track or just kind of go lower than I normally would in my levels on the DJI microphone. Now there's an actual audio meter that goes across the top of the screen it's still not in decibels, which would be too helpful, but it does give you green, yellow, and then red. So it's easier to dial in where you need to be at that -10, -12 dB. They've also improved skin tones in portrait mode and fixed some minor bugs. So that's the newest improvements with the most recent firmware update. Let me know in the comments which ones you like the most or which ones you look forward to using. Me personally, I think the audio meter is awesome. That's probably my favorite by far. The highlights is pretty cool, but being that I don't use the Mimo app to edit, I don't think I'll find it very useful. But I'll still use it. I'll still try to mark it and see, you know, if I'll play around with it. But I think the audio meter is definitely one of the better features of the 4. I don't see pre-recording being very useful for my personal needs. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you found this helpful. And as always, take care of yourselves. You know you deserve it. I'm Donny B, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.